Okay, so I'm here. I just dropped off my bag. I've got 2 flights. It's gonna be a long night. I'm gonna be very honest, like I'm super nervous. I don't know why I'm so nervous, but I am. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get going too. In the start of March, I spent 7 days with a friend in London doing some antique shopping, and this is the first of several videos where I'm taking you with me and showing you all the awesome things that we found. All right, we're here today at Old Spitalfields Market. It's right behind me. I've been really looking forward to this. On Thursdays is when the vintage vendors show up. We're gonna head in and we're gonna see what we can find. Old Spitalfields is in the East End area of London, and it's open every day with a variety of vendors, but if you want to find specifically the antique and vintage vendors, they show up on Thursday, so that's when you need to go. I was a little surprised to see that several vendors weren't ready until closer to 10 o'clock. I guess the shows maybe start a little bit later there than I was used to, but we had a fantastic time looking through everything they had. Check out this one vendor and all of their cutlery. It was all shined up and pretty. So many amazing, gorgeous antique pieces. It was kind of just overwhelming, everything that he had. Oh, I like these. They're Boy Scout. These right here.
Cool. Did the Boy Scouts originate here?
I don't think so.
I didn't either.
So at Spitalfields, we saw a lot of silver plate, a lot of tableware, and a good bit of brass too. Some vendors definitely were dealing in kind of higher end, finer items, and then some of them had more rustic and more primitive items. I liked this old stamp right here. It was out of my budget. Price-wise, I've had a lot of questions about price, and the prices definitely were a little bit high. However, people were willing to bargain with me overall, and some vendors were a little bit lower than others. Saw some cute vintage clothes too, and I absolutely loved this beautiful table right here. Sadly, I don't think that could fit in my suitcase taking it home, so I had to pass on it. Look at this gorgeous blue and white set for all of you blue and white people. This vendor definitely had some beautiful plates and platters. Unfortunately, I didn't want to take too many plates home with me. I was afraid that they would break as I was putting them back in my suitcase. I was really looking more for things that were going to be non-breakable. Saw several of these little perpetual calendars too. I thought that was kind of fun. Just some overall interesting things to look through from this vendor. Several people were telling me that they regularly go down into France and are buying things in France and then bring them back to this Spitalfields market as well, which I thought was really interesting. So I had some friends one time that bought a set of this for me and they had it shipped. Look at that piece.
Collect blue.
What does it say on there? Do you know?
Liter. No, that's law something.
It's
but
French.
This is 1 liter.
Oh, that's France.
It's very heavy.
Yeah.
These are gorgeous.
Look at this pretty pedestal piece.
Lovely.
35.
This was awesome too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had a jewelry store.
It's probably time to introduce you to my friend in the backpack. You're going to be seeing a lot of her. That is Jody. She is just an old friend of mine. She has a similar business to mine down in Texas, and she was a great travel and picking partner with me. This book that I found was incredible. It had probably, I don't know, 150 at least very old postcards and old pictures. The vendor was asking 125 pounds for this book. And a pound is about $1.27. So it was definitely too much for me, but I had fun looking through it. And then these adorable little guys, I'm going to show you more of them later because they did come home with me. And as I'm watching this video back, I'm looking at this table and kind of kicking myself for not taking some of this stuff home. This little blue and white picture right here, my friend Jody ended up grabbing. This vendor was definitely more moderately priced. She had some really pretty items, and I am wishing that I would have brought home some of that Majolica that she has there. Maybe some of those blue and white pieces because they were beautiful. Spitalfields is also a great place to grab a bite to eat, and then it does have kind of over in the other half, this is the newer goods, kind of the ongoing daily market that they had. Again, it's located in the East End London area, which is the area where our flat was, and it's a more up-and-coming area of town. There's a lot of Eastern influence there, as you can see, and not far, just a couple blocks away, is the Brick Lane Vintage Market. This is a market that is actually open daily. So it is kind of like, you know, a traditional antique mall. If you go in, there's vendors that have different spots, but it is almost all vintage clothing, which isn't really my thing, but it was really fun to still kind of look through what they had. Vintage clothing over there is just a huge, huge market. This vendor right here, Lemon Belly, they had some incredible vintage clothes, and some of the things they were selling were old costumes from the Opera House. They were pricey, but they were so unique and so interesting. Then there was this vendor. Everything that they had was vintage Burberry. So some fancy stuff for sure there. If that's kind of your thing, if you want a designer label, they have lots of vintage and reused designer label items there. So even though vintage clothing isn't really something that I'm typically interested in, I just thought it was fantastic that there was such a thriving market for it here in London. I love the idea of keeping stuff out of landfills, and instead of making more cheap clothes that fall apart, let's go and buy some clothes that already exist, some things that are quality made that will last for a long time. I think that's just a great way to kind of reuse items and to keep things sustainable. So let's dive in, and I want to show you up close the items that I grabbed at the Spitalfields market. So my very first purchase was unfortunately from a dealer who didn't want any of his items videoed. I ran into several people like that, not really sure that I understand why, but wanted to respect that. But he was super friendly to talk to, very knowledgeable, was telling me stories about how he's been hired by designers in the US to come over and design spaces. If he was just spinning a tale or not, I don't know, but he was a lovely man to talk to. But he had a ton of old brushes, and so I grabbed these 3 fantastic brushes from him. This first one, I love it. It's gigantic. It's the biggest brush I've ever seen. Of course, I had to get it because it says made in England here. He had several of these smaller ones. I loved the patina on this one. It does have a little bit of paint on it, which is unfortunate. It is a clothes brush though. It is not a paint brush. It's a brush for, dusting off your clothes if you have a valet that's doing that for you. but really just like the size and the patina of it. This one here, he honestly did not know exactly what it was. And I've tried to look it up myself online, but this one is really nice and old. This is a string that's wrapped around it right here. And then check out that warm old wood. Does have a little bit pure bristle, I think is what it says right there. Just a tiny, tiny little bit of writing. He thinks that it was a brush, again, another sort of brush for cloth, maybe that tailors were using to brush off, you know, their rolls of cloth, or to brush off the suits and things as they were making them. Not really sure, but I think this one is my favorite of the three. Another purchase that I made at Spitalfields was this guy. Now you may be thinking, what in the world is that? I saw him up on a shelf and I just kind of fell in love with him. I learned while I was over there that I kind of have a thing for old stuffed animals. So I've got some more coming to show you, but what this is this is called a pajama dog. I have never seen one before, ever, but I saw a couple while I was in London. So that tells me that it just wasn't really a thing over here, I guess. Or maybe they are here in the US and I just haven't paid attention. But anyway, here's what it was. So see, he's got this little zipper here and you would unzip him. And then the kids would stuff their pajamas inside of him. Now he's currently stuffed with shopping bags, but they would put their pajamas inside their pajama dog, and then it would kind of hold him up, you know, and he would lay up by their pillow, and it would hold their pajamas until it was time to go to bed again. So what a fantastic idea, right? We always I stick my pajamas back behind my pillow, but these were little dogs that you would put them in. Now, I had a lovely conversation with the vendor that had this one, and another gentleman that walked up who seemed to know a lot about this specific type of item. He estimated that this guy is from the 1930s and that he was made by a company called Chiltern. And he is mohair, so that shows his age, and he has glass eyes. I learned that that was something to look for when you're trying to find some real age on some of these older toys, stuffed toys. So mohair, glass eyes. His neck is a little bit floppy. I've tried to kind of stuff him as much as I can, but isn't he adorable? I have brushed a little bit of the hair away from his eyes. He's got a little bit of staining down here from his collar, but something that I just never see. And I'm not seeing a ton of them for sale online either, so I've really kind of got to hunt around and do his worth. I paid 40 pounds for him. She came down off her price a little bit. Whether that's a good price or not, I have no idea. I just knew that I loved him. So another purchase that I made there was from a gentleman who specialized in cutlery. He had a ton of gorgeous cutlery pieces. And I did buy this set of, I believe there's 6. Yes, 6 little small forks. And they have that pretty mother of pearl handle. What I really liked is that, can you see the detail on, the camera will focus, all right here and on the back. So I've got to do a little bit of research on how to clean these, but my friend Jody that was shopping with me said they would be adorable on like a charcuterie board or a graze board, a graze table that someone makes out. And I liked that it was a whole set of them. Again, that pretty, pretty mother of pearl. If you have any tips, if you know how to kind of shine up this mother of pearl, let me know in the comments. I've got to do a little bit of research on that. Another vendor who was lovely, and I really wish I would have gotten her name and gotten her information. She had a lot of nice things and a lot of really fair prices. As I'm sitting here thinking about it, like there's more stuff that I wish I would have bought from her, but live and learn. But she had a ton of these little tiny animal figurines and kind of toy soldier and people figurines, which I have learned those were made a bunch in the 30s, 40s, 50s. And then she had this one set that was a little bit different. So I've got them kind of all down here in this bag. They are not exactly like the other ones that she had for sale. She believed that they were a little bit older, possibly German, possibly some of them French, but they're just a set of the little die cast. These are metal farm animals. And what made them different is that the paint on them was not shiny. They were flocked at one point in time. And most of the flocking on them has kind of worn off. This guy, unfortunately, his tail is broken. But there's the bull. I kind of loved the donkey, the little tiny donkey. If y'all followed me or watched any of my videos before, you know I'm kind of a sucker for anything in miniature. And so, I mean, look at the just little tiny itty bitty sheep. Are they not adorable? So she had this whole set, and she had them separate from the rest of the ones that she was selling. I paid 35 pounds for the set. Again, no clue if that was a great price or not. I just knew that they were different than all the other little figurines that I was seeing. I loved them. I loved their patina. They are not the Britain's Zoo figurines that I saw a bunch more of, because they're not zoo animals, they're farm animals. So I'm gonna have to figure out a little bit more of their backstory. If you know some information about them in the comments, please tell me and let me know. The last item that I got from Spitalfields is this set of old collectible little cigarette cards. Now, these again are something that I have never seen here. I saw a ton of them there. Apparently in the 30s and 40s, maybe even in the 50s, I can't remember exactly when the guy said that they stopped. But the old cigarette boxes, they would put these little cards in them, and they would have all sorts of different themes. Like we saw ones that were the royal family, that were art, that were landscapes, that were famous monuments. You name it, they had collections of these cards. And so people would buy more and more packets of cigarettes so they could get the entire collection. This gentleman was very proud that he had like full sets of these, because people are still hunting for these cards to complete their collection. So this is a full set of the flowers. Here's, you know, what's kind of on the back of them. I like old paper. I thought they were pretty. I've never seen collectible cigarette cards. If you've ever seen these in the US, let me know in the comments. I'm really curious, because they're something that they were completely foreign to me. If you enjoyed coming along with me to London, great news, I have 3 more videos coming showing you other places that we went to shop. So please come back, join me again, and until then visit me at lostandfoundvintageshop.com.